Now this pair of glasses may seem a difficult one to draw because it's in a nice perspective and it contains lots of different curves in different angles, but we are going to cope with that. Let's start off with recognizing the perspective of this subject. I can draw perspective guidelines for the top and the bottom curves. I'm marking the orientation of these vertical curves. So these are the main directions we need to focus on. Let's forget the temples behind for now. Similarly, we will add this table contour to our sketch later. I'll be using a soft B pencil with a flat tip to make the first draft. I draw these perspective guidelines. I use bold, light strokes. As a next step, I create these vertical guidelines. To find the center of the glasses for the nose bridge, I use these intersecting diagonal guidelines. I have the center, so I can erase these guidelines. I continue with the ovals around the lenses. I'm using very bold strokes. There is no need to finalize these shapes yet. They will develop slowly. I draw the upper contour. And we have the base orientation of the glasses pretty quickly. I can start adding details now because the base structure looks solid. Let me draw the curve of the nose pad. Something like this. Similarly on the other side. As I'm forming the curve, I'm watching the negative space. Negative space is your friend. Your shapes will match the reference more if you use these negative shapes. Now let's deal with the temples. I trace its curve and copy. Same for the other one. I'm also paying attention to the relationships with the surrounding shapes. Now let's draw the table contour. Here is the corner of the table where the line changes direction. I'm checking the angle of this line compared to the horizontal. It is something like this. This one is almost horizontal, but not exactly. I'm checking where it intersects the glasses. Notice that there is a slight lens distortion over here where the continuity of the line breaks. This kind of detail is not important on a sketch, but I will copy it. Let me erase these perspective guidelines. Now we can create the contour lines and give a final form to these glasses. I'm watching the reference photo and trying to copy directions as best as I can. I'm checking the thickness of each part. Thickness is constantly changing because of the design of these glasses and perspective. Remember, in perspective there is compression by distance. I make amendments as necessary. The sooner you fix an issue, the less you need to redraw. Placing the tempers at the right spot is challenging, but our friend the negative space can help. Similarly on the other side. I'm making sure that the shape of the negative space is correct. This triangle-shaped negative space is one thing, but the contour of this temple over here also has to be in line with the other part of this contour line. I emphasize the contour of the table as well. And we have a pretty nice sketch of this pair of glasses. Now let's add some shading to it. I analyze the photo and check where the darkest areas are. This time I'm using my dyeing to paint these areas. You can use your pencil, of course, if you want to. I'd like to note that colors, texture and shadows are different things. But in this case, we have a grayscale image, so the situation is simple. I just need to check if an area is dark or less dark. It doesn't matter now if it comes from color, texture or shadow. This part of this exercise is like painting in a coloring book. It's kind of fun. Good. Now I take my lighter gray dyeing for painting remaining areas. I add the mid-tone to the table and we are done. I hope you enjoyed this exercise.